and welcome to the Hutchinson Veteran Outreach Program, located right here in Hutchinson, Minnesota. My name is Lisa Dettell, and I'll be the host for your show. Our goal on this program is to not only entertain you, but to inform veterans and their families of information and benefits and activities that are going on here in our community and throughout Minnesota. Today on our show, we will have Jane, that is with the National Guard Youth Camp. Also joining us today, we will have Patty and Besa, that will be teaching us a little bit about service animals, dogs in particular. We will also be joined by Mark Mascherl, who is a gold medal for the National Veterans Arts and Crafts Festival, which we will actually be talking about more on our following show. In the studio with me today, I have Jane Mayday Hulke. She's with the National Guard Youth Camp. Welcome, Jane. Before we get into talking about the youth camp, though, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your service. What branch of the service were you in?
I joined the Army National Guard in 1976 and was a personnel record specialist. And then I met my husband, and then the kids came, and I got out for 6 years and met some people through different organizations and the Enlisted Association that convinced me I should really come back in. And so I came back in right before Desert Storm. And I came into a program that was being new. It was called Family Programs. And that program, that particular section, dealt with, at that time, the what if. What if the balloon goes up? What if we deploy? And it did. And we did some dramatic changes, and we learned that we soon had to educate families. And so pretty much that was my career, educating families on their benefits and entitlements during deployments, and then working with the soldiers and doing what we call MOBEXs, mobilization, getting them ready to deploy, making sure that all their paperwork goes in hand and all their family records and everything were up to date and current. And so that's what I did that for the rest of my career. And I actually ran 2 family assistance centers, one in Mankato and one in New Ulm, through several deployments. So.
Okay. So can I ask, why did you join?
Because my father always wished he would put 20 years in. He was in the 125 in St. James, and he regretted that he never finished it. But he happened to meet my mother. They got married, and 6 kids came along, and the opportunity wasn't there. And so when I was thinking about what I was going to do, and I was unemployed for a little while, I met with a recruiter and joined the Army National Guard.
Very nice. Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the youth camp here. Can you tell us how it got its start?
In 1989, our TAG at the time, our Adjutant General, Gene Andreotti, wanted to do something for the kids of the deployed soldiers. And he wanted to give them a place that they could go so that they could communicate with each other that had similar experiences and get a little idea of what their parents actually did while they went to drill and to AT, annual training. A lot of kids don't know what their parents do when they leave for a weekend. They just know that they simply go away for the weekend. They put on this uniform and they go, and they come back and they have no idea. So it was his vision to start something. So he got a crew of us together, and we went and we visited Legionville and several other camps to see how they were modeled. And came up with Minnesota National Guard Youth Camp, and in 1991 we had our first camp, and we had 300 campers. We are the only camp that is totally volunteer. There's not one paid staff member on our camp at all. And so we rely on donations and funds, grants, things like that, because our children only pay $155 or $165 for a week at camp. And we try to keep the cost as minimal as possible. So for 27 years, we've been running 2 camps, 2 weeks, anywhere from 200 to 300 and some kids come through our youth camp, and then after they're done with youth camp, that's for 10 to 12-year-olds.
Okay.
And then when they're 13, they can go to teen camp, and that teaches more about respect and leadership and communication and getting along and things like that. And then after, that's from 13 to 15.
Okay.
Then after that, they can become a volunteer, a junior counselor, if they wish. But to be a junior counselor, you got to apply. You got to have letters of recommendation. So there's a process that you go through, and then you're selected. And then if they do stay longer than that, we have some of our original campers that are coming back as volunteers and are committed to every summer, regardless, they're back. So then they can become a volunteer at age 18 and volunteer for the camp and help at the camp.
Okay. Very nice. What dates do these run?
Typically we run the last week in July, the first week in August. This year our dates are from July 22nd to July 28th. And then our second week is the 29th through the 4th. So they come in, the volunteers come in typically on Friday or Saturday. A few of us come in the Wednesday before. There's a lot of setup that has to be done for the camp. So we come in, we get everything ready, we do some safety training, we do orientation for new volunteers, and then on Sunday at noon, they start coming. And they come, and they spend a week.
Now, if somebody wanted to volunteer, how would they go about doing this?
We have a website. It's mngvc.org. And you can, or Google Minnesota National Guard Youth Camp, and you can read all about us, and you can apply there.
Where are the camps located?
The camp is located on Camp Ripley, right on post. We have Area 10 pretty much committed to us every summer, and so the kids sleep in building just like their parents would, and eat in the chow hall just like their parents would. And they do a lot of fun activities for the whole week.
Now, you've done this for quite a while.
Yes, 27 years.
Do you see a lot of changes in the kids coming in versus when they come in from when they leave?
Yes. On Sunday, we have those that, oh, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. I want you to call my mom. To Saturday, that same kid saying, I don't want to go home. I like it here. I've made friends. I want to stay. Some of them have never been away from home at all at age 10. And to be in a strange area where they're, you know, everything is pretty, I would say, you know, it's just buildings and that's it. Not a lot of, no, they can't have no electronics, no TV, no telephone, cell phones. They have to give that all up. No snacks. We provide everything. So it's a little bit different, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you're sleeping in a bay. Is a bay is a long hall that's got beds on both sides.
I remember those.
Okay. And you have community bathrooms, which they probably aren't used to either, you know. So there's some adjustment, and some kids take off and they just really enjoy it, and some we have a few days that they got to get into the routine of everything. You know, they can't sleep in, they got to be up at 6, and their day ends about 9:30. We keep them busy.
So what are some of the activities that you do with the children there?
They do confidence course, they do, they fire 22s, they do archery, they do swimming, they do orienteering, they do biking and bike safety. We have sports, teen camp, canoes down the Mississippi River if the waters are okay. So they do a canoe trip down the Mississippi. So there's quite a bit to keep them busy, quite busy.
And do you have a family day where the families can come in, or?
Family day is when they drop them off and when they come back on Saturday to pick them up. If they tend to come and stop in, some of the soldiers will, if they're there on post, might want to stop in, but we kind of keep them at a distance because of those kids that are homesick, okay? So that they don't feel slighted. Not everybody can come, not every parent can come and visit. So, but they can stop in and see how things are going. And we encourage it during like campfire at night, things like that.
Jane, what is some of the criteria that you have for the campers?
The parents or relatives has to be a member of the military, Air National Guard, Army National Guard, and we do take other branches of the service, okay? So if you have, like I take my great nieces now because I have that connection. We have some that is because their grandfather was in the military and they want to go. So you have to have some connection with the military in some way, whether it's distance or close, there has to be that connection.
And is there still time for parents to sign up their children?
Yes, there is. Our date for closing camp this year is June 30th. So you still have time to go in and register. There are still slots, and we really, really try very hard not to ever turn anybody down. So we'll accommodate however many kids we've got. We make it work.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in, and thank you again for your service.
You're welcome.
If you're ever in town again, come on over and we'll do a plug for your camp.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Patty and Besa and his dog, Zen. We're here to talk to you today about the Project Delta. Patty, can you tell us a little bit about this Project Delta?
So Project Delta is a service dog organization intended to assist veterans that are suffering from either PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and or military sexual trauma. We extensively screen the veterans and then extensively screen the dogs, bring them together and train them together as a team, as a service dog team. So,
very nice.
Yes.
Now, how did you get involved in all this?
Oh, well, I'm a nurse by trade and have been for over 30 years. I'm the daughter, the wife, and the mother of military, so I never personally served myself. When the boys got into the military, and even with my husband, I got very involved in volunteering and assisting recruit families in the Marine Corps. Probably have connected with probably over 5,000 families right now. So I started to recognize some of the issues in transition, whether they were transitioning from a deployment back into stateside, whether there was a transition from exiting the military, and I saw that there were some holes, and that how it bothered me. The other side of my world was volunteering with the rescue shelter world, and I saw the amazing effects of these animals that were being placed for adoption in their new forever homes, but there were some that were just so uniquely special. And so I learned about this service dog world utilizing the rescue and shelter, and I literally, it was an aha moment, and that's a real thing, because it happened to me. And it happened to me the end of 2014, and I said by 16 I'll be pairing. This is what I wanted to do. It really flipped a switch for me, and I spent a long time studying it, learning in Minnesota, did we have the demographics to support this? I knew we had the animal world, so I needed to learn, do we have the military demographics? And unfortunately we do.
Yes, we do.
And so just really worked hard. We incorporated in April of 2016, and we launched in August of 2016, and by November we had paired our first team. We're very small, very hardworking volunteer people that have the same passion for the military as we do the animal.
I want to thank you for helping our servicemen and women. That's a big help. Can you tell me, how do you go about matching up the veteran with the dog?
Well, it's a long process. It's not cookie cutter. It's very individualized, but it begins with the veteran deciding that this is they have skin in the game for this, because it's not easy. There's an extensive paperwork process to ensure that it's a good fit for them. First of all, do they have, carry the diagnosis? But it's not in any way, shape, or form intended to eliminate their mental health programs and what they're already doing. It's to collaborate with that. So I work with, you know, their mental health providers to ensure, is this a good fit and can they work the program? So once that's done, then we as an organization get together and go through a pretty extensive orientation so they really understand very much up front what they're up against and the workload that goes into it. And we do not train dogs ahead of time and then place them with veterans. We do this as a team effort.
Okay. So you're both training the dog and the person?
Together.
Nice.
Together. There's a multitude of reasons for that, but the most important piece is to ensure that they develop this bond, and it's very organic and it occurs.
They become a team?
They are a team. They really are. Once veterans, and you know, we've taken care of the paperwork and we know that this is a good fit for them, then the process of screening the dogs comes into play.
Okay.
This animal we really want to protect the integrity of the animal. So we start out literally transports coming into the rescue world, and you look for their temperament, you look for, are they balanced? You know, some of these animals have been on multiple vehicles for 10, 15, 20 hours to get here to Minnesota, to get into the rescue world, and you learn a lot immediately when they come off that van as to whether or not I'm here, what's next? And so it really starts there. We flag them there for balance and temperament, and after a period of time, take them out into public to see, are they going to want to serve? It's critical that they're going to be happy and they're going to desire to do this. We do not want these dogs to be robots. We want to protect that integrity.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You want people to see the team, not the dog or the veteran. You want them to see a team.
You don't want a robot. You want to see this amazing relationship, this dog-veteran relationship, that they work very parallel. It's just like ripples on a lake. They read each other. It's dog language, but you want the dog happy doing
exactly.
it. It's really, really important, and I think that's a piece that oftentimes can be missing. The dogs become robotic with skills and doing this and that, where you want them happy serving. I know you can't see her right now, but she's pretty darn chill over there.
We will get her in the shot.
Yeah.
Besa, would you like to tell us a little bit about how you went about getting Zen?
Her name is Zen, and I met her, it was love at first sight, when Lindsay, the dog trainer, came with her right when she poked her head out on the window. I knew that she was mine, and when Lindsay brought her out of her Jeep, and Zen just stuck by my side, and that was it. We knew we were for each other, and we do a lot of training together, also have a lot of fun, and we started with the basic stuff, and then we went out into real world situations, working in cafes, grocery stores, making sure that she behaved the way that we needed her to. She's still learning to lay down on a mat for extended periods. So she is young, 1.5 years. So I have to keep that in mind, that I don't overdo it with her when it comes to staying still in areas. So I do try to keep things short, and you know, she helps me with my hypervigilance and paying attention to the surroundings and to noise, so that I don't have to be stressed in those situations. Yes, well, after going to the VA for counseling, my counselor decided that I should apply for disability for what happened to me while in service. And so I went to my service representative, and at the time he was involved with Project Delta. And so partway through our interview, he asked what I thought about dogs, and I said I love dogs. And he said, what if I were to tell you that, or that, would you like to have a dog? And I was like, well, I've always wanted to have a dog, but I lived kind of a Yahoo life going this way and that way, and couldn't give a good home, and also financially. And he got more into how he works with Project Delta, and introduced me to Patty. And at the time, my life was a little chaotic, so I wasn't ready yet. We all had decided that I wasn't ready yet for a service animal. But fortunately, Patty and Lindsay, my dog trainer, kept the door open. And that following winter, we got back together, and they saw how my life had changed with my psychologist and psychiatrist with the VA. Helped me a lot with the therapy I was receiving there. And I had a stable home for a service animal for myself. And it was love at first sight with me and Zen. Lindsay, the dog trainer, which I wish you guys could meet her. She's a wonderful person. And she brought Zen to the shelter, and right when Zen poked her head up over the window, right on Lindsay's lap, I saw her face and I fell in love, and honestly, I said, that's her. Well, I didn't know it was a he or she, so I said, that's my dog, I think was the thought.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
It really is a magical moment, because that chemistry, it's there. And you had met several dogs prior,
Yeah.
and
That is so
We didn't hit it off with
it
the
wasn't
dog, so-
there. And it's like, don't worry, this is all happen, and you'll know, there'll be no question. And there was no question.
And Zen stuck with me. She was, I like to call her my Velcro dog here and there, because she sticks with me from the beginning. And we just chilled that first day on the couch together. It was just amazing, the bond we had right off the bat.
Instant connection.
Yeah.
It's a chemistry that, once the veteran has put the time in to get everything squared away, and we screen these dogs for this behavior and temperament and this desire to serve, and when they meet their veteran, if it's meant to be, it's going to be.
Exactly.
It really is. And she was all about it.
Now, you said you were in the service. Can I ask you which branch?
I was in the Navy.
Okay. Can you tell us why it is that you joined the Navy?
Yes, I watched G.I. Joe growing up. And I watched a lot of war movies, especially the old stuff with John Wayne and all those classic actors. And I really honestly wanted to serve. And I just wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, and be with people who had high ambitions to serve our country. And I wanted to go join the Navy SEALs, but that didn't happen. But yeah, I really just wanted to serve and be a part of the military.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Now, I was going to ask you, Patty, how do the dogs react to the families? Do they join into the families, or?
That's a good question. I think it's another piece that really separates us maybe from other organizations is in this case, Zen and Bezat are together. She understands and knows that this is her handler. However, entering her job as a service dog, the family's critical, because if they're not all on board, it's not going to work. It's going to create barriers for the veteran. So once we have a dog that's a potential candidate and we introduce them, they begin to foster for an indefinite period of time to ensure, indeed, it's a match. Okay. So that we want to minimize all risk of failure. And however, in that time frame, the veteran takes care of all the needs. The veteran takes care of feeding, taking the dog outside, all of those important things that a dog needs. However, the family gets to engage in the wants. of a dog.
Okay.
They get to pet the dog. They get to interact with the dog. They get
So
to
they're
play
for
with the
the
dog.
social interaction.
Yes, but by differentiating where the veteran, it's time to feed the dog, it's time for the dog to go out. The dog is, they're so smart, they understand, this is my human. And so as the training goes on, that bond, strengthens, and they learn, over time, this indeed is my veteran, but I love my family.
Exactly.
I love my family. You don't want to not include the family. And that's the time when she's at home or any of the dogs are at home, they get to be pets. The vest is off and they get to be pets. However, you will admit they organically work when necessary, even at home. They know. They know.
Absolutely.
What should people do if they see a handler and the service animal out in public? How should that be approached? Is it okay for me to go up and ask the owner if I could pet the dog, or is the dog always considered in training and shouldn't be approached?
So the dogs are always working and they're always learning new things. Traditionally, most organizations it's you're not to distract a working dog, a service dog. However, we've really tried hard. This animal is intended to be a bridge for the veteran, to engage them, to be out in society just like if I was greeting you. That doesn't mean that on any given day it may not be as comfortable for them, but that is the intention. The dog is a bridge, not a barrier. It is to empower them to just be in the same level playing field as you and I, versus being tied to that diagnosis. The service dog world, it's a little fickle out there. The laws are there to protect the handler, and traditionally you aren't to approach a service dog, and it's always in the best interest of anybody to ask. I always say, these guys are hams, all of them, and they love to talk about their service dog, but it may be a situation, I got 20 minutes, I got to get to Target, I got to get through it, thank
Right.
you, I'm not trying to be rude, but I got 20 minutes.
Exactly.
So,
You're in a hurry like the rest
right.
of us.
It's funny when they're out in training and you'll hear the moms with the kids going, I know we're not supposed to look at you and talk to you, however, and it's kind of the veterans will be open to letting the dogs be pet, because they're animals.
Exactly.
They're animals. We want that. But it is definitely, there are times when the veteran may say, I just can't right now, she's working or he's working.
Okay. There's one other thing that I'd like to discuss with you. I know the 4th of July is coming up. This tends to be kind of a little bit of a rough patch for some veterans. Does having the service animals bring comfort and maybe lower some of the anxiety that goes along?
You want to speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. Large crowds do make me a little anxious, and Zen makes me feel comfortable, not only as a bridge where people can approach me and ask about her, but also as a way to create some space between another people, because she's there. And
She's a
so,
presence.
yeah. So it gives me some breathing room.
Yeah.
And also in large crowds, she does pay attention for me, because I come to find out that I am quite hypervigilant. The first day she started looking out around for me, and I realized that I was relaxed for the first time in quite some time.
And that's the best part with Lindsay, the trainer. She oftentimes, a lot of this, the experiences out in public is her just observing, what is the dog doing? What is the veteran doing? And pointing out, did you see what she did? Did you see what she did? Let's work on that treat. You know what I mean? And positively reinforcing that.
Exactly.
It's a dog language. And so they do that over and over again. And by pretty soon, she's innately doing it, but you're recognizing that it's happening. And it's chemicals. It's reducing that cortisol level that they often experience during these rough patches like the 4th of July. the noises and the crowds and all of that stuff, it amps them up, and there's tons of cortisol that's released by the interaction, the petting and the eye contact and everything with the dog. It brings those chemicals down, which in turn reduces anxiety. So it's pretty amazing. They don't even know they're doing it.
If I may add, one of the great things with Lindsay that she's teaching us and why she's so critical for Project Delta is she's taught us so much about the dog language, what the dog is sensing at each time, either when they're nervous, anxious, happy, because oftentimes people mistake dog language, and I've found out that I did also in the past. And knowing that helps me get out of myself and pay attention to her and what she's feeling. And so that helps me out a lot with my anxiety.
Kind of puts you in the here and now rather
Yes.
than...
Exactly. And so I know, oh, we need to leave this situation because she's getting nervous or anxious, or hey, this is great, look how happy she is, because I can see those things. Like even people don't realize that I didn't know this dog sweat through their paws, and if you see sweat coming out of their paws, that could be a sign of nervousness or anxiety in the dog, and just those little things that now I'm really in tune with.
Very nice. Yeah, I
It's
didn't know
really-
that either.
It's really cool.
That's
Dog language.
Very nice. Okay, Patty, I'd like to ask you, what can you train a service dog to help provide for our veterans?
That's a good question. So, to distinguish the difference between a service dog and an emotional support animal or a therapy animal or a pet, service animals have to be able to provide tasks. In the veteran world, the first thing each and every team, and it's different, it's not cookie cutter, everyone's different, is a de-escalation process. What Behzad and Zen do can be very different from any of the other teams. A lot of these guys have issues with hips, backs, shoulder issues and stuff like that. The dogs are taught to brace. Even going simply from a sitting position to a standing position for some can be a challenge. May not be so much right now, but down the road it's going to be, so these animals are taught. It's kind of innate how they do it. It can be Tessa picking up keys. It can be how, as much as we don't want the dogs to ever be a barrier, there are times when they need to brid, or they need to separate themselves from, the crowds of people and themselves. Not all the time. They learn how to screen rooms. But again, the important piece is not so that the veterans are on the periphery of the building and don't talk to me, don't talk to my dog or anything like that, but it's get me through this moment. Let me acclimate. Let me settle down, and then I can move forward. And so with this positive reinforcement of training, which can be praise, it can be throwing a ball in a Kong like a military working dog, or it's treats. Every dog is different, and they learn that language and how each team responds. So there's an innate amount of tasks that can be learned. It's all very specific to each team. That's the difference between a service dog and an emotional support dog. All dogs provide emotional support. These dogs, through this training process, gain public access, which allows them to go anywhere that their handler goes, versus a therapy dog that goes through an extensive training process but is invited into an establishment, a nursing home, a hospital, a school, something like that, where they go in and they provide comfort. An emotional support animal is an animal that gets to live in places that wouldn't otherwise allow pets. It's so there's some gray in there, but these guys are task specific, and those tasks are very specific to their handler. And it can be 3 things, it can be 23 things, but the piece that's important is you don't always see the task being provided. It's going on, they're doing it, and that's the goal, that it's organic, and that there isn't this big production going on, which in turn puts the veteran on display.
Right.
You don't want that.
Exactly.
So it goes on, and they get so good at it that they flow, and it's happening, and it's not pointing out, you know, he or she is doing this, that, or the other thing. Sometimes yes, but the goal is that it's not on display.
Patty, what is the overall cost for an animal once you actually obtain a service dog?
So, boy, that's a tough one. Average time training from the time they come together and they start the service dog in training can be upwards of a year plus. Again, it's not cookie cutter, so we don't turn them loose, and they're not on their own until Lindsay and the team really feels that, you know, they're ready and they've passed all the public access testing. So it's upwards of about $7,500 that we put into, you know, financially per team. Some that can train, obviously, that can train in a lesser time. It'll be a little less, but we've kind of averaged between the care of the dog, the training, and the supplies and the time put into this. It's about $7,500.
And do you help with the costs once the veteran actually
Is in play.
acquires the dog?
Everything is on us except for the care of the dog. So once they've paired and once they're a service dog in training, that's again part of the skin in the game. So they take that animal on. We will help in cases of need. We also have some great donors that have been providing us supplies of food and treats and things like that. There's a couple different pet organizations that have been doing that. So all of these things coming together have been really, really, really helpful in us sustaining this and putting it into the organization.
Patty, can you tell us how Project Delta is funded?
We have some tremendous donors. First and foremost, we have connected with some amazing VFWs and American Legions that, of course, that's their life, supporting veterans. And once you can find out who to get in contact with, in Brooklyn Center, in Apple Valley, Maple Grove, Osseo, these VFWs and these American Legions have reached out and have been tremendous donors. Most recently, it's been the Zimmerman Legion Riders. That group is unbelievable. They do a coach purse events almost monthly and raise just a tremendous amount of money. And Project Delta has been a recipient of that. As a matter of fact, this coming Sunday they're doing a big ride, and they're going to be donating to 4 different veteran organizations, and Project Delta being one of them. We've written some grants, and Project Delta has been the recipient of a Petco grant, which is wonderful because that shows the dog side of things too. Alaskan Brewing Company has been a significant donor for us. And then just the people out there. They connect with the website, they connect with the social media, they connect with the stories, the videos, and they see it. And I have to be honest, there's people all around the country that have been supporting us, whether it's a $20 donation to a $2,000 donation. I think it resonates that this is something people can get behind. It supports the animal world, it supports the veteran world. So we are very mindful and very grateful to everybody, because this is free to the veterans. This is something. This is part of why I started this, is to be able to give back to them for their service. So the like-mindedness of our board of directors and our volunteers and the general public is to give back to the veterans at no cost to them.
Well, thank you both for being here today. I really enjoyed our conversation. If somebody has a need of a service dog, who should they contact first?
So there's a couple different ways. You can check out our website, which is www.project-delta.org. There is, all of the information is on there. We've got a lot of videos that kind of give a general idea of what we're doing, and some of the teams. The team, you know, the Project Delta team, my husband's extremely involved. He's also a master level life coach, so he works with the veterans one-on-one as well, which is really, really cool. We have help from the vet centers. One of their counselors, you know, is there to assist at all times. So the website is a wealth of knowledge. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and I really love to tell the story through the teams, and I like to tell the story of the community too, because without the community allowing us out and about and training in various areas, it would really be a challenge. We're a mobile program, so wherever the veterans are living and wherever their desires are, that's where Lindsay and the teams go. That's where the teams go. And the community has been unbelievable and so supportive from the minute we start screening dogs to actual training. The employees of restaurants, Home Depots, movie theaters, Mall of America, the Timberwolves, where else? I mean, you've been to
Minneapolis Institute of Art.
I mean,
restaurants,
they're
cafes.
so amazing. They are vested, and they, like I said, they see these dogs from the time they're being screened to teams that are actively out there, and that's, people are looking for something to hang their hat on. That's good, that they can
Exactly.
help. And when you can support veterans and you can support these dogs together, it's really cool. So we're really, really, really enjoying creating a sense of community.
Well, I know we appreciate you coming all the
Thank
way
you.
out to Hutchinson.
Thank you. It was fun.
And basically, I love the dog. She is
She's
a
awesome.
beautiful dog.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And probably almost sleeping right now.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
But thank
Could
you
be.
again for your service and for
Thank you.
coming out here and
Appreciate it.
spending some time letting us know about your program.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to the studio. And today we have with us Mark Masherl, who's a very good friend of mine, also a fellow veteran. And Mark, would you like to tell us a little bit about your service?
Well, I lived in Kentucky, Indiana. I was about 32 years old, so I was in there late. My drill sergeants were younger than me, so that was interesting. But my life wasn't going anywhere at the time, and I really needed something, and so I thought the military would be a good fit for me. You know, physically I was in good shape, got a good sharp mind, and so I joined the National Guard. Kind of needed a purpose.
Exactly.
So, and then I got out of the National Guard, and then of course when September 11th happened, I called my own unit and told them I wanted to volunteer. You know, I said I didn't know where we're going, but we're going somewhere, and I'd like to serve. So I got back in and did a little tour over there, and had a little shoulder injury, but I couldn't be infantry anymore, and that's where my heart was. So that was the end of my service.
Okay.
And it was an honor to serve, it really was.
Well, we thank you for your service as well.
Thank you.
Now, I wanted to talk to you today about the National Veterans Creative Arts Festival.
That was new. I was in a VA rehab at the time, getting my life together, and I had my guitar, and I was playing songs, sometimes to the residents, sometimes by myself, and I was in this room, and I was playing White Roses and Champagne, and Avis come walking by, and she was like, wow, that's a beautiful song. How come you haven't entered it? And I entered it in what? And then she told me about the Veterans National Creative Arts Festival, so I entered it and didn't really know what it was going to do, but it won state, and then it won national. And all the gold medal recipients, we went to Milwaukee and got to perform live at the Milwaukee Theater, which has some history to it. So it was really fun.
Now, that was back in 2014,
2014.
so I hear you have another one coming up.
Yeah, I entered again this year. I entered Rejoicing Are the Angels, which was a really, that was a real good inspirational song for me. You know, I write from the heart, I write about what's real. So I entered that, and I entered Tragedy. And Rejoicing got first place state, and Tragedy got third place state. So I'm just waiting to hear if Rejoicing got national. And then we'll go to Des Moines, Iowa, whatever's there.
Okay. Now, We talked a little bit about White Roses and Champagne.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write that song?
I have a daughter. At the time, due to life circumstances and where I was at, and things were pretty much a mess back then. And there was a family that was an extremely loving family that, you know, they had children and they had pets, and she loves pets, and she had been in a school. And even though I had the right to keep her, you know, because you have the right to do something doesn't make it the right thing to do. And I didn't have a childhood, and I wanted what was best for her, and what was best for her was to allow this family to take her and give her a life. I never wanted to be out of her life, you know. I can always hope that someday we'll meet again, but she's already known. Let me put it that way. She's already known. Everybody loved her, everybody. So it wasn't a matter of there was something wrong. It was a matter of, I love you, this is what I think is best.
And that's what inspired you to write White
That's
Roses.
what inspired White Roses and Champagne.
Very nice.
So
So the other song you're actually going to perform for us is Rejoicing Are the Angels.
yeah.
So what was your inspiration for that one?
At the time I wrote that, things weren't going real well either. But I believe, you know, life has circumstances, and sometimes things are bleak. But for me, at least, if I can find gratitude in anything through that, you know, it helps you get through it. It's not about minimizing what's going on. It's not about, I always tell people, you know, your pain is significant. If someone else has got it worse than you, it doesn't make your pain insignificant. But you can find gratitude in your situation. I mean, simple thing. You got a roof over your head, you got a full belly, you got people that are, you know, they care about you and love you. You've got something, you know, and it's also in line with my faith. And this is a country we're supposed to be able to express that. And I hope everybody can express that, whatever it is.
All right, well, thank you, Mark. We'll go ahead and listen to those songs, and
Rock on.
I want to tell you I appreciate you coming on, and thank you again for your service, and we'll have you go ahead and play those.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Rejoicing are the angels, they prepared a place just for me. To their God goes another heart. Now when I'm down on my knees, their tears of joy I'm crying, living in the light, dying in the dark. Holy, holy is my God. Hungry, hungry is my heart. Joyful, joyful is my soul. When Jesus Christ became my love. I know my Savior's alive. I feel His Spirit inside. Every morning when I wake to another day, I cast my worries behind. Don't let my fears decide who I am or who I'm gonna be. Glory, glory to my God. Humble, humble is my heart. Joyful, joyful is my soul. When Jesus Christ became mine, when Jesus Christ became my holy, holy is my God. Hungry, hungry is my heart. Joyful, joyful is my soul. When Jesus Christ became my Lord. Everybody's got to face their own decisions. Everybody bears a cross and a heavy load. And then I left my heart alone and broke in Mississippi. She's only 3 years old, and her daddy's gone. Some people gotta trudge through muddy waters. Not everybody gets to ride across the desert in the back of a limousine. I made to make my living on a street corner singing to faceless people. It ain't a Broadway show, but I send it all home. And I swear to you someday, someday it's gonna be in white roses and champagne, in a house out of willow tree. I swear to you someday, someday we're gonna be together as a family. It's all in my dream. I swear to you someday. Every time I think of you, I know miracles do come true. And you're my fantasy. And when you allow me here to sleep at night, world feels so right, unless I lie with you. And I swear to you someday, someday it's gonna be in white roses and champagne, and in a house out of willow tree. I swear to you someday, someday we're gonna be together as a family. It's all in my dream. And I swear to you someday, when I stop and smell the roses, that's when I dream of you. Gonna break this code of silence, pronounce it I love you. And yeah, I swear to you someday, someday it's gonna be in white roses and champagne, and in a house out of willow tree. I swear to you someday, someday we're gonna be together as a family. It's all in my dream. Yeah, I swear to you someday. Yeah, I swear to you someday.